All right, folks, hello and welcome back to Online English Class. Hope you guys are doing well today. Today we are going to begin the process of drafting your quarter four essay in this last week of school. All right, we're going to be looking at the first two focus points on your prompt that your essay is going to be evaluated according to, okay? So before we get into that, let's quickly run through the top of the week announcements. First of all, make sure that when you're done with your work for the semester that you return your books to my room, okay? Whatever books that you have that I own, make sure you bring them back to me or you'll be charged for them, okay? So make sure that you see this announcement and that you are responding accordingly to it, all right? Some of you guys have fallen off the wagon on paying attention to these kinds of announcements and due dates. You need to get back on the wagon, all right? School is not done yet. We have 5 days of work left, and then we've got an extended period of rest. So make sure that you finish strong, all right? Second, you need to make sure that you are engaging with your discussion grade procedure on a daily basis, okay? So leave a comment on the video. That leaves a question, a summary, or reflection on what was discussed. Okay, each day we'll be discussing a composition skill using a sample essay in order to sharpen and develop the quality of your own essay. All right. Now the final assignment that you have to complete, the only thing left before you're done, is completing this quarter four essay. It should be submitted anytime from May 18th to May 22nd. Okay, so make sure that if you've fallen off the wagon, that you're hopping back on, that you're sprinting to catch up. And that you are doing your absolute utmost to pursue excellence here in these last few days. Okay, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and turn our attention back to our prompt. All right, so the first two focus points, the first two areas of the rubric that I'm going to be grading the quality of your essay according to is, number one, the extent to which your essay signals to me that it has been edited, that it has been put through a drafting process in which you are trying to improve the quality of your essay. In other words, it needs to be very clear that your essay is not a rough draft, that it is a final draft, that it has been developed according to the 5 steps of the drafting process. The first of which is perhaps or arguably the most important, and that is generating ideas about the prompt. Okay, so I can always tell if an essay has been if an essay has been thrown together if it doesn't answer and fulfill the requirements of the prompt. All right, a good, well thought out essay is one that begins with understanding what the prompt is asking the student to do. Okay, so this prompt is a little bit lengthy and somewhat complex. So we need to go back to it and make sure we understand exactly what we're being asked to do. All right, the beginning of the prompt introduces the concept of the literary canon. The literary canon is a group of books that have been traditionally included in the classroom. In other words, they have been deemed useful in education, not just in, say, entertainment, not just, say, in giving you something to do in your downtime, that might be good for your brain, but something that is valuable for your education as a human being, something that is suitable for admiration and study. Okay, it's the difference between watching Saturday morning cartoons and studying and analyzing Heart of Darkness. All right, both of them are stories. All right, both of them on one level are meant to be entertaining and engaging. Okay, I'm very engaged and entertained by the story, the narrative of Heart of Darkness. But in the end, right, the purpose of reading and engaging and studying Heart of Darkness is not to go, wow, that was so fun or so funny or so enjoyable. It is rather to meditate on a valuable idea and to be exposed to excellent, beautiful writing. Okay, so those are two different kinds of goals, right? And it implies that there are certain books that are better than others. All right, there are certain great books. Now, obviously, when you get into words like great or better, you're getting into an area of what? A debated, a contentious issue because people have different opinions. All right, now there are generally large agreements on what the best books are among people who read books and know about books. Like, for example, no one's really arguing out there that Shakespeare is garbage, right? it's pretty widely accepted that Shakespeare is not garbage. Some people think he's better than others, but nobody thinks that guy's an idiot and nobody should ever read him. Okay, but obviously, with more minor texts in the canon, there's more debate. Okay, it's like ranking the top 10 best NBA players of all time, right? Maybe positions 1 through 3 are you shuffle the order, but it's pretty much the same 3 guys. But positions 4 through 10, well, there's a wide range of people that you could canonize, that you could say were truly the greatest. Okay, that were truly the most valuable. So what you're doing in this essay is you are going to write an argumentative essay, an argument that defends. Okay, so you're either going to say this book is worth valuing and studying and admiring. This book is defensible. Okay, or this book is not defensible. It should not be valued. It should not be studied. It should not be admired. Okay, from one of the literary texts that we've read together. So you can either defend the value of one of the texts that we've read together, or refute the value of one of the texts that we've read together, arguing that it is not valuable. All right, and the 3 basic ways that literature is judged are the 3 basic ways that you should base your argument on. All right, either it's formal beauty. Okay, so let me give you an example of what I mean by that. All right, the poem "The Tiger," apart from its sophisticated observations about the sublimity of God and its representation of William Blake's romantic pseudo-Christian understanding of the world. Apart from that, the poem "The Tiger" is just well written. It's formally beautiful. Very much in the same way that "Heart of Darkness," apart from its observations, apart from its meaning about life, it is formally beautiful. Its use of motif, its use of illusion, its network of symbolism, all right, is incredibly well rendered. All right, so you can simply say this book is beautiful. It is incredibly well written. Apart from its meaning, it's incredibly well written, and it's worth reading so that we can expose ourselves to great writing, because great writing is good to know about. Okay? Another aspect is its wisdom. All right, so a text like Inferno is not only formally beautiful, but from my perspective, I think that it has some incredibly wise things to offer about what it means to know a person, to know themselves, right? For a person to know themselves and go on a journey of unpacking the uninvestigated corners of their heart, whether that person be a Christian doing so in the context of repentance and confession, or a non-Christian who simply, in order to be a sane human being, does need to face the ways in which they have betrayed those that love them most. And hopefully, if they do that reasonably, they'll come to some conclusions about the fact that they're a sinner and they need to repent and confess those sins. But it is a beautiful and wise book. And the third criteria is cultural significance. Okay, so apart from Heart of Darkness's formal beauty and its wisdom, its articulation of some of the most basic principles that orient the natural world, like, for example, power dynamics and mankind's irrepressible will to power and will to pleasure, mixed with his irrepressible desire to live a good and moral life. And when those 2 things come into conflict, it leads to a kind of incoherent life that is at odds with one itself. Apart from that wise reflection on the nature of the human condition, Heart of Darkness is also a culturally significant text because it helps articulate Western culture's movement away from Orthodox Christianity and to more secular, nihilist, existentialist approach to mankind and the world that man lives in. Okay, so Those are examples of ways that we can evaluate the quality of a piece of text. All right. Is it culturally significant? Is it wise? Or is it beautiful? Now, your job as writer is to choose one of these three criterias and develop an argument that defends or refutes the value according to one of these three criterias of a work that we have studied, arguing whether or not it is worthy to be admired, whether or not it's worthy to be studied. Okay, so the first area of the first focus point, the most foundational focus point of this entire essay is understanding that that's what I'm asking you to do. Understanding what this prompt is requiring you to do. If you overcomplicate that process, your grade will suffer. If you simplify that process, oversimplify that process, then your grade will suffer. You need to do exactly what the prompt has asked you to do, okay? Evaluate the quality of a piece of text that we have read according to, all right, its formal beauty, universal wisdom, and or cultural significance. So you can choose all three, you can choose two of the three, you can choose one of the three, okay? And then after that, right, you'll need to develop a central claim that evaluates the quality of a piece of text that we've studied according to one of these criteria, as I've just explained. You need to gather evidence. Now, what will your evidence look like for this essay? Right? Well, if it depends on what criteria you're using. Okay, if you're gonna evaluate it according to its formal beauty, then you need to analyze its formal characteristics. Right? If you're going to evaluate its universal wisdom, you'll need to analyze how that wisdom is communicated, unpack it, and explain it, so that your reader can see, oh wow, that is indeed what that text has to say, and that is indeed wise. All right, or its cultural significance, how it illustrates a certain period of time or period of history or way of life, and why that is important for us to grapple with and know as students and as people. Okay, so you need that central claim. You need appropriate evidence according to the criteria that you are judging the piece of text according to. You need to organize that evidence logically, and then you need to write an essay that is well edited. Okay, so real quick example of this. All right, this is a past student essay, and it is obviously about the wisdom of Frankenstein, the timeless wisdom in Frankenstein. Okay, so this essay, very brief. It's not very complicated, right? Look at it. It's short, sweet, to the point. It simply argues that Frankenstein as a text is worth being studied by young people, should be studied by young people, because it offers wise insights about the better ways to live. All right, it dramatizes the consequences of living in a dumb way, in an unwise way, and also dramatizes the benefits by sort of in reverse, the benefits of pursuing what Frankenstein argues is a wise way to live. Okay, so the introduction of the essay defines what the canon is. Okay, it explains why certain great books should be wise, all right, and what that means about the great book, and then states in its thesis statement, which is placed at the end of the first paragraph, precisely as it should be, states in its thesis that Frankenstein is one such book with transcultural and timeless wisdom to impart. All right, what wisdom is that exactly? Well, we'll get into that whenever we look at the interpretive thesis statement. Okay, so the last focus point we're going to talk about today is the interpretive thesis statement. Well, what does the thesis statement in this rhetorical situation, in this assignment, look like? What should it look like? Well, it should evaluate the quality of a piece of work and then introduce the criteria that you are evaluating it, right? By. In other words, if the prompt were, tell me what the best flavor of ice cream is and tell me why. All right, in order for you to have a cogent, a well-developed response to that very simple prompt, you would say chocolate is the best flavor of ice cream because of its subtle combination of saltiness, creaminess, and also that rich cocoa flavor that only chocolate can deliver. It's better than every other kind of ice cream because of those three reasons. And then in your body paragraphs, obviously, you unpack each one of those three reasons and why that saltiness, that creaminess, and that cocoa flavor are precisely what makes chocolate ice cream the best, and it's better than the rest. Okay? In much in the same way, in order to evaluate the quality of a piece of text, you would need to say, this book is this, right? Because of these reasons. Okay? So in other words, right, it needs to be properly placed where? The end of the first paragraph. It needs to be defensible. What does it mean for it to be defensible? It needs to evaluate and then offer some criteria for that evaluation that you need to unpack in your essay. You need to defend that evaluation and those criteria. Explain that criteria. All right, and it needs to be clearly stated. That just means it needs to. It shouldn't be like 5 paragraphs long. Your thesis statement. It should be maybe 3 sentences at max. All right, that offers an evaluatory claim and also some criteria to support that evaluation. Okay, is everyone clear on that? Let's look at a quick example. Okay, this is not complicated here. All right, it follows, therefore, the student says, that a book worthy of canonization, that means being in the canon, such as Frankenstein, will have a timeless and transcultural wisdom to impart. Shelley's Frankenstein, okay, belongs in the literary canon, okay? This is our most basic evaluatory statement right there. Frankenstein belongs in the canon. What does that imply? That it should be studied, that it is worthy of admiration, that it is a great book, okay? So that statement right there answers the heart of the prompt, but then we use this nice little word as, this is a replacement word for what other word? Because, right? Because or as it offers wise insights about the importance of. Okay, so it does what? It offers wise insights. Okay, so we're talking about what criteria? The wisdom of the text, what the text has to offer in terms of living a blessed life, pursuing and avoiding foolishness, right? That's what ultimately wisdom is all about. Not being foolish and pursuing the blessed life in a way that is wise. So, why is Frankenstein a great book? According to this student's essay right here, well, among other reasons, the student identifies the fact that it offers wise insights. What wise insights? Of course, I am now going to ask. Well, the student's essay would be very weak if it just stopped here, right? If the period were right there. It belongs in literary canon because it offers wise insights about life. Well, that is very vague, very general, although it does answer the heart of the prompt, does it not? But that would be a D level, not an F level, but a D level thesis. Why? Because it's so dang vague. All right. What does the student do? Well, the student develops that claim. All right. It offers wise insights about what? About the importance of engaging in meaningful and intimate relationships in which one confesses their wrongdoings and deepest fears rather than suppressing them. Okay, so the wisdom of the text is all about the fact that Shelley dramatizes the importance of something, the importance of relationships, intimate relationships. But the student doesn't just stop there, because that's not the heart of the novel. The novel would be kind of silly if it said, hey, you should have intimate relationships. Everyone on earth would be like, yeah, no kidding, right? Well, Shelley develops that and it offers some wisdom to us. How do you develop those intimate relationships? Well, by confessing wrongdoing. Now, that's kind of interesting because normally the people that we love most and we really want to love us back, we don't want to tell them how we have wronged. We don't want them to think that we've done anything wrong to us. That's why we defend ourselves whenever they accuse us of treating them wrongly, right? No, you don't think of me that way. I didn't do that. I didn't mean that. How often do we say that, right? Well, here the novel says, no, that's not the way. What you need to do is confess your wrongdoing. Okay, you need to bring it out into the open, and you don't hide your deepest fears from people you want to love you, but rather you confess those as well. You share those. You do not suppress them. All right. This wise counsel communicated to the reader how? Through Frankenstein's relationship with his creature. Okay. So, in other words, what area of the text is the student going to analyze? Frankenstein's relationship with his creature and explain how this wisdom is communicated through this textual feature. All right. And finally, the student concludes by saying that the wise counsel has aged well and continues to be a valuable concept to consider for young readers. Okay, so does this thesis statement answer or respond to the requirements of this prompt? Yes, indeed it does. So too must yours. Okay, your thesis also must explore and explain, all right, what the quality of the text that you're evaluating is. All right, so this thesis does that. It belongs in the canon. That means it's good. Because why? Because it offers wise insights. All right, what kind of wise insights? About the importance of engaging in meaningful and intimate relationships. How more specifically? By cultivating them, by confessing wrongdoings and one's deepest fears rather than suppressing them. Where does that evidence itself in the text? What area of the text are you going to discuss in order to unpack that wise counsel and prove to me that it's really actually in the book? By analyzing Frankenstein's relationship with the creature. What is the effect of all this? A text that is aged well and that is valuable to consider for young readers. Okay, so that claim right there is an excellent thesis statement. It's well written and it responds to every aspect of the prompt. Okay, so go and do likewise, right? You can write your essay about anything that you want. You could write about a Wordsworth poem. You could write it about Frankenstein. You could write about Inferno. You could write about A Heart of Darkness. You could write about any text that we've studied together. 1984. I don't care. But you need to evaluate it and you need to offer some good reasons that support your evaluation. Okay? Tomorrow we'll talk more about the body paragraphs and the ways in which the student is evidencing these claims. Okay? Have a great day.